This is Aaron Golub, host of the Blind Ambition podcast. We'll be bringing you world-class leaders, entrepreneurs, and athletes, people who have overcome obstacles and used their ambition to create enormous success in their lives. If you enjoy this podcast, if you get anything out of it, the only thing I'll ever ask is that you subscribe, rate, and review. Hope you enjoy. Thanks for tuning in today. Again, I'm your host, Aaron Golub, and today I'm joined by Anthony Santiago. Anthony, thanks so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Aaron.
So give our listeners or viewers just a little, background on yourself, what you're currently doing. I know you're with the White Sox, but just a little background on yourself right now.
I've been a baseball guy since I was a kid. My journey through high school, college eventually took me to play professional baseball. So I'm on my sixth season with the White Sox as a coach. I played 3 professional seasons as a player in the minor leagues with the White Sox. And now I'm on my sixth season with the White Sox as a coach.
So I guess let's backtrack a little. And so growing up, were you always, a star athlete, star baseball player, or, what really led you to be able to play in college?
I always consider myself an average to slightly above average maybe player. Growing up, I wasn't the superstar, in the area that I came from, nor was I in the family. I have a brother as well, Anthony Santiago, who plays professional baseball as well. He's got about 9 years now. He still currently plays. This year he decided to opt out, but still currently plays in the major leagues. So growing up, he's just under 2 years older than me. So he was really the superstar. So I was always kind of a little bit in his shadow, but it was one thing that I enjoyed because it kind of pushed me to work harder and to see, he was kind of, he was the baseline. He gave me basically steps of where I should be and how I could actually get there. So I watched him as he, had his journey and how he got there, and it kind of gave me open doors for me to follow in his footsteps to eventually, get to where he was, or even higher or into different ranks. But yeah, I was always an at least average or above average player. But I think my ambition and work ethic kind of pushed me to eventually become good enough to play professional baseball.
So I can only imagine growing up with a brother who also ended up playing professional baseball. The competition you guys must have had was probably incredible. Can you speak to that? What was it like, competing on a daily basis with him?
No, yeah, it was definitely great. But me and my brother always had a really good relationship. So it was that competition between brothers, but we always pushed each other, and we still do. We still currently push each other. We're both big into fitness, and we still communicate about that. And it's like, hey, what'd you do today in the gym? It's like, all right, well, I'm gonna try to do that, or I'll send you the workout I did. So it was a good thing. It wasn't, we never had that bad blood where it was like, I hope I'm better than him. We just both really just pushed each other to get better. And anything, that once he did get into professional baseball, any new information or knowledge that he got, he always brought it back home. And I was a year behind him in school always. So, I was basically just a year away from where he was going to be. So it always helped me. I was always getting new information, new knowledge, new ways of improving.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I guess making that transition from high school to college, I know that you said you were not one of the typical, superstar in high school, get drafted, go play in the majors. Talk a little bit about your journey from high school on through college to the pros, and really what led you to, being able to play professional baseball.
No, yeah, definitely. So coming out of high school, where I'm from in Newark, New Jersey, I played for Bloomfield Tech High School, and it was never really known for its baseball program. But we had, my brother, we had a few other players. Another player that was actually drafted out of high school named Burt Reynolds. They were both the class before me. So those few years, those 3 to 4 years, were the years that the team, we ended up having a lot of scouts, coming to our games, which kind of gave me more of an opportunity to get looked at. But it was never to the point where they were telling me that I was going to go into the draft or anything like that. It was just here and there. They kind of noticed that I had some talent, but I wasn't at the level where I should have been.
Yeah.
So going from there, I was originally going to go to William Patterson University, which is a Division III school in New Jersey. I decided to go to a community college, though, in Baltimore City Community College. I decided to go there because the coach was someone who worked closely with Cal Ripken Jr. So I knew he had to have a good background in baseball. So I decided to go there. Long story short, it didn't work out. I guess the recruiting process wasn't that great. So it was going to be a tough year for the baseball program. Eventually I ended up going overall, just to kind of cut it short, but I ended up going to 5 different colleges before I was actually signed professionally. So my first official season that I did play as a college athlete was in 2010, and it was at Mitchell College in Connecticut, which is another Division III school. In between those 5 different colleges that I attended, I made 2 trips to Dominican Republic to kind of play and try to take the fast route out and possibly sign professionally. Didn't work out. I had a lot of looks and things like that. Also had some bumps in the road over there. Eventually signing out of the College of Central Florida, JUCO in Ocala, Florida, which is where I signed in 2012 with the White Sox.
Wow. So bouncing around to 5 colleges, going to the Dominican Republic twice, I mean, that must have been a lot of stress and anxiety on you. Would you say that, or how did you handle all that going forward? Because clearly you wanted to make the majors, and I think there must have been times where you said, I keep bouncing around. Is this really going to happen?
No, absolutely, yeah. And the thing that made it the toughest was that I still had to live with the fact that my brother was drafted out of high school. It seemed so easy. But I was so eager to play professional. And I always knew that, I had the potential. I just kind of had to, be at the right place at the right time, or, just to continue to work and get better. But no, it definitely wasn't easy. There was some times where I almost quit. I almost said, maybe it's not for me. Maybe it's just, that's my brother. He was the athlete in the family. Maybe I should take a different route. So there was points, throughout my 5 different colleges where I thought, maybe I should give up, especially after going overseas international and playing in Dominican Republic. I went there for the first time when I was 18. And at the time I did not know Spanish. I'm Puerto Rican, my nationality, but I didn't know Spanish. And I went out there all alone, at 18, which is, still pretty young to kind of live on my own and to live that lifestyle, which was a lot different than what I was used to. So that to me, honestly, was one of the biggest things that kind of humbled me and taught me a lot of lessons of, that I thought that I wasn't working as hard as I should have. I saw some of these guys out there, the way they lived. There's so much poverty there, and I watched them still show up to the field every day, trying to get better, 2 times a day, and they just lived baseball. So I kind of, I'm watching these kids at, 10, 11, 12, all the way up to 16 years old, do this every day, and, just their background and how they lived. And I figured, wow, if this is what they're going through, I have it so easy. Which that kind of pushed me to the next level to want to make sure that I was doing everything that I possibly could to improve.
That's so powerful. I mean, I feel like that there's a lot of times in our lives that we're put in a situation like that, and we realize that maybe we do have it a lot better than we think, and there's no excuse for us to not be working harder. And that's so powerful and such an important lesson to learn, especially at such a young age.
No, absolutely. It definitely made me mature very, very young.
And I guess so. After Mitchell College, what was the process like? Did you get drafted from there? How did you kind of go about that? And talk about the feeling when you finally made it to the majors, or to the White Sox.
At Mitchell College, I had a pretty good season for a freshman season. And, I had some scouts watching me after our scout day. I had a lot of teams come up to me and, tell me that they were very interested in it. They were going to pursue me and watch me throughout my season. And I did well. I did really well defensively, offensively. And I didn't get drafted that year, but I did have, towards the end of the season, I had a Minnesota Twins scout watch me. And it's funny because when he ended up showing up to one of our regional tournaments, and he saw my name and he saw that it said freshman. So he assumed it was my first year. I was very young. He didn't know that I was draft eligible. Because at the time I was actually 21. I had just turned 21 years old. So he comes up to me. He invited me to like a pre-draft workout. But in his eyes, he didn't know that I was draft eligible. And when he saw me at the workout and he saw me play, he told me, he said, "Hey, I really wish I knew you were draft eligible." He said, "I definitely would have had your name up on the board." He said, "But you know what? I want to follow you. I want to continue to watch you next season. And we'll see where things go." And I was actually very comfortable at the school. I had a great coach, and things didn't work out for him with the school. So he was the big reason why I was at that school. He ended up talking to a coach in Florida, which is Marty Smith, and he was the coach, or still is the head coach at College Central Florida. So they kind of spoke, and he spoke highly of me. Decided, I'm going to go that route. So I ended up going to College of Central Florida. And I had an okay season. Really, really great defensively. I was always a great defensive catcher, strong arm. Hitting, I had a down season, you can say. Playing obviously against a higher level competition. And but the scouts were watching me enough to where they knew, and it was at that time they were telling me that there was a possibility they might have drafted me as a pitcher. And they asked me if I was okay with that. They knew I had a strong arm, and I was a little older. I was 22 at the time. And I told them, listen, I want to get into professional baseball. I want to see my true potential. I want to see what I got. So absolutely, if you guys draft me, I'll pitch. And didn't get drafted that year as well. But then I believe it was a week or two after the draft, they called me to sign me as a free agent. And that's when I finally I decided to take it and go to play professional baseball. And it was honestly, it was a dream come true. Like I was speechless. My nerves were running, tears coming down. And it was just every ball player's, dream. And, I was super excited. I eventually within the week, I was shipping out and going off to start my professional career.
And did they sign you as a pitcher?
This is actually another funny story. So when my scout called me, he watched me as a catcher the whole time. They obviously told me that there was a possibility. But when he did call me, he said, "Hey, listen, there's, unfortunately, I know we didn't draft you. We should have, or whatever." He said, "Listen, we have a spot for you now. Would you like to sign?" Obviously I said yes. He said, "All right, pack up your gear, and, you're going to head out to Bristol, Virginia. They'll send you your flight information and so on." And in my head, when he said, "Bring your gear," I'm thinking catcher's equipment. And so I ended up going out there. I didn't know until I actually showed up to Bristol, Virginia, and I signed my contract, and I noticed that it said pitcher. And I was kind of confused at the time. So I say, I'm sorry, someone was calling. So I was kind of confused, and I said, "Hey, I'm a catcher." And they're like, "Well, I guess you're a pitcher now." I'm like, "All right, well, let's do it." But I actually didn't even have a pitching glove. All I had was my catcher's gear, catcher's mitt, and a bunch of bats. So I had to borrow a glove for a few weeks, and then there it went.
That's awesome. Wow. And then first off, that's an incredible journey that you've gone through. And then going from there, what was it like to work your way up through the leagues? Going from rookie up to where you ended up making it, and what was that experience like, going through the different rings of minor league baseball? Because it's unlike any other sport where in football you either make a team or you don't. In baseball you kind of have the different levels. So what was it like, and what was the milestones of how did you know, or did you know, when you were going to move up to the next level?
Yeah, no, that's obviously a very, very tough part about professional baseball. To whether or not you're going to be chosen to move up to the next level, especially at the rookie ball level. So I started off at our rookie ball level, and there's more players on that roster. So one of the biggest jumps that a lot of people don't know about, but one of the toughest jumps is to go from rookie ball to A ball. Once you do get into A ball, it can be either easier for you, it can be tougher. It kind of depends on the athlete, but it's really tough to get out of rookie ball, depending on, if you're a high round draft pick. I was obviously a free agent signing, so, I had to work a lot harder and really prove myself. But my first year was really just kind of learning how to pitch. So I didn't have too much pressure there, but I took about half the season was, throwing bullpens and live batting practices, just really getting the feel for it. My second season was really where I started to learn how to pitch. And I had a phenomenal season. I was probably one of the best pitchers on the staff, but I didn't get promoted. I had a very low ERA and my numbers were great, but I didn't get promoted, which kind of set me back a little bit mentally, which is another lesson, that was learned, and it kind of helped me mature as well. Was that I allowed them not promoting me to the next level because of my previous year get to me, and it hurt my following season. Had I kept my head up and just went in with the same mindset and say, you know what, let me just do exactly what I did the previous year, and wait for them to promote me, it would have maybe been a different story. But I allowed it to get to me and, my emotions and mentally. So it kind of threw me off, and I had a bad season, my third season, which is what eventually led me to get released. Obviously, once I did switch over to the other side, I understood the business side of professional baseball and how it works and why I wasn't promoted and so on. So, but it was beneficial for me to learn that, because now when I do work with a lot of younger athletes, I try to explain to them how, failure isn't always a bad thing, or, not getting a promotion isn't always a bad thing. There's always something good that can come from it, depending on how you accept it.
And so I guess talk a little bit now on the other side of that. What's it like being a coach and being in that other side of the experience of the role? What's it like working with those younger guys and mentoring them?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. To be honest, when I was younger, I never, even at that time, I had never thought about coaching. But, throughout my years with the White Sox as a player, they saw something in me that, that I didn't just think about myself. I helped out a lot of players while I was still a player. I always, leaned towards the Latin American players. Obviously, like I said, I'm Puerto Rican heritage, but just my time in Dominican Republic, when I was there, I didn't speak Spanish, and those guys kind of, they helped me along the way. They helped me, stay strong while I was there mentally. And, they basically showed me the ropes. They took care of me, they accepted me in their culture. And it was kind of something that gave me that bond with them. So now vice versa, these guys, a lot of those guys, those players that are in the US for the first time, or, 1-2 years in the US, still not knowing the language. I just felt, I felt the need to help them out, basically how they did when I spent some time in the Dominican Republic. So it kind of just transitioned to that. They saw that, and they saw potential in me as a coach. So when I did get released, they eventually, they called me back very quickly and offered me a coaching position. So obviously I took the position, and at the beginning it was basically to, as an assistant coach and helping out with the younger Latin American players. So just my time in Dominican Republic before I played professional, and also my time in professional baseball helping these guys out, kind of just transitioned into the role that I was eventually given. So that was pretty awesome to see how that just transitioned.
That's awesome. And, looking back on it now, what advice or piece of value would you give to a younger player, a younger athlete, kind of starting that process? What would you say that, you wish you knew back then?
No, I mean, there's obviously a lot. For one, just kind of all the knowledge that I've absorbed throughout the years, just being around so many baseball minds. So the biggest thing I would probably say is to actually listen. There's so many players, whether it's high school or, little league or travel ball. There's so many coaches out there that have a lot of information, whether they have a deep background in the sport or not, just to make sure that they're actually absorbing the information. It happens to all of us, when we're athletes and we're out on the field and our coaches are trying to talk to us as opposed to just practice and actually try to teach, whether it's the fundamentals or whatever. I think it's just very important to actually absorb it, to actually listen, apply, ask questions, probably one of the biggest ones. But yeah, we don't realize that so much information that we're just letting, go in one ear and out the other, as opposed to actually asking questions as to why they're doing something, or as to, what's going on with their swing or their pitching mechanics. There's so much information out there, just to try to get as much as possible. And then at that point, just decide what they like and what they don't like. But that's part of being an athlete as much as going out and taking swings or throwing the ball.
That's awesome. And, going on that, where can people find you online? What are you currently doing? I know you're coaching, right now you're home, you're coaching kind of individual players as well, but where can people find you? What are you currently doing, and how can you connect with others?
Yeah. So, I do a lot of my, a lot of posts on social media, on my Instagram. That's ant_Santiago6. And, I have two different pages. The other page is ant_Santiago28. But my baseball page, I try to post some clips of some of the lessons that I do while I'm here back home, as well as just some motivational posts. Sometimes talking back about my journey, as well as just going over some video analysis of major league guys or guys that I train, just to get out as much information as possible. But yeah, the biggest thing for me, and it was kind of something that helped me make the decision of becoming a coach. I was still very young. I was 25 when I got offered the chance to coach professionally. And I thought to myself, like, I still feel like I'm kind of in my prime. I had a really good season playing winter ball in Puerto Rico, playing against some high level competition. And, I remember one of the highlights of my career was striking out Baez twice out there, Javi Baez in Puerto Rico. So I thought, I do have potential. But at the time I thought, what? If I start coaching, I'm going to be around so many different baseball minds. There's so much knowledge that I can gain that not only I can benefit myself, but can benefit so many people back home where I come from that don't have that chance to know someone who's around the game like that. So I figured, this is my chance to gain more knowledge, to become a better baseball mind myself, so that eventually I can go back home and help some of the younger guys coming up playing.
That's awesome. Well, that's an incredible journey, and I'm glad that it really all worked out for you and you were able to make it to where you are today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for listening. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed it at all, if you got one thing out of it, we'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe, rate, and review. Thank you.